All right, this is the ninth video of the Proudly series and the 12th under valuations. And today we're going to be talking about extending the unlevered free cash flow period in a DCF, right? So if you guys remember, for DCFs, we projected our unlevered free cash flow for 5 years, right? But let's say that we are doing a DCF for a kind of newer company, right? Doesn't it make sense that that company might have significant growth for maybe 10 years instead of 5 years, right? So let's kind of go through the basics of a DCF just one more time. Okay? So let's say that we have a period of 5 years, right? And we have a specific cash flow, right? And we're going to grow that by, let's say, 5%, right, per year. This is the free cash flow growth rate. And then we calculate out a terminal value at the end, right? And for the terminal value, we use typically like a 2.5% as a long-term growth rate. So if we knew that this company was going to continue this 5% unlevered free cash flow growth rate for a long period of time, let's say, for example, 10 years, then we can't just do a DCF based on the first 5 years, right? What we essentially have to do is extend, right? We extend the unlevered free cash flow growth period. Period. So let's say it's like a small like AI startup or something like that, right? But we can't just go to year 5, right? We might need to go all the way to year 10. And for this entire period of time, we might assume that the growth rate is 7%, right? That's the growth rate for this entire period of time. And then going forward, for the terminal value, we're still going to assume that same 2.5%. That's going to be the long-term growth rate, right? Now, keep in mind, what you do is that you extend the number of periods. You never change the long-term growth rate. And the reason for that is if you think that it's going to grow significantly for a period of time, right, maybe a longer period than 5 years, then you should just adjust that directly. It doesn't make sense for you to adjust the value of that company from year 5 until infinity, because that wouldn't actually be correct. That's not good analysis, right? What is good analysis is if you simply extend the period of time that these cash flows are going to grow for, right? So that's kind of the main rule here, right? We never mess with this 2.5% over here, right? All we do is we extend the period of time that these cash flows are going to grow, right? So we might do a DCF for 10 years rather than 5 years, or 15 years rather than 5 years, right? And now here's a question, right? That I personally got, right? So if we do extend the unlevered free cash flow growth period, how does that affect our valuation, right? Will it be higher? Will it be lower? Will it be the same, right? And I want you to think about this kind of logically, right? If we have a company that we assume from years 1 to 5, it's growing at 10%. And then from here on forward, it's growing at 2.5%, right? That's one scenario. And let's look at a hyperbolized example of extending the unlevered free cash flow growth period. Let's say we have a company from years 1 to 100. It has a growth rate of 10%. And then from years 100 forward, it grows at 2.5%, right? Which company is going to be worth more? Well, obviously it's this one, right? Because it's growing at 10% for 100 years. It's growing at a faster rate or at the same rate, but for a very, very long period of time. So overall, the growth of this company right here is far greater, right? So if we extend the unlevered free cash flow growth period, it will lead to a higher valuation, right? So if we extend our unlevered free cash flow growth period, that's going to equal a higher valuation. And if we, let's see, shorten our unlevered free cash flow growth period, that will lead to a lower valuation, right? And hopefully you guys kind of understand the intuition behind this now, right? With this kind of hyperbolized example. So that's pretty much all you have to know for kind of the extension and what the extension of the unlevered free cash flow period. Obviously, the reason why you do it is the company might be growing for a longer period of time. And if you're able to kind of make a defensible answer around that, honestly, that should be enough to answer any questions around this. So I hope that's been helpful.